Hey guys, Vincent Teo from HDTV Test here. Just a quick one to go through the picture settings that are available on the Epson EH-TW9300 projector that I'm reviewing at the moment. I believe in the USA this projector is known as the 6040. So let's go straight into the user menu and see what picture settings are available. So there are different picture presets here: dynamic, bright, cinema, natural, cinema, digital cinema, and 2 extra picture modes for 3D playback. And I'm just gonna go into the cinema mode and show you what's there. So brightness basically is the control that affects the digital black level of your projector. If you raise it too high, you may be washing out the black, but if you actually drop it too low, you may be crushing shadow detail. Contrast affects the brighter end of the image in terms of the white and whiter than white level. If you raise it too high, you will be clipping the brighter detail in your picture, but if you set it too low, then the dynamic range of your picture will be reduced, which will affect the final picture quality. Color saturation is just a global color control that boosts the color saturation and likely luminance of all the colors on the picture. Tint actually is a hue control, so it just rotates the hue of this projector, mostly affecting the secondary colors. Sharpness control, if we go in there are 3 separate controls: standard, thin line enhancement, and thick line enhancement. I haven't even put up a test pattern to test them out yet because I've just unboxed this projector for another purpose. But what I think is that these will affect the high contrast and the low contrast regions. I'll have to do more tests to find out. These are basically edge enhancement controls. Color temperature allows us to adjust the grayscale of your display and skin tone. On Epson projectors, they've always had some skin tone control, as is found on this Epson TW9300. And from our testing, usually what it does is to actually affect the grayscale as a whole, whereas you want really a skin tone control that affects a specific portion of the color that is related to flash tone. And I think that the most effective flash tone control was found on the Samsung LED LCDs before 2016, when there was a flash tone control that specifically targeted skin tones, but Samsung has since done away with it. And the one that is found on the Epson projector currently, I wouldn't even use it to adjust anything because it just affects the entire grayscale. Customize, when you go into customize, it basically is a 2-point white balance control. Offset R stands for red offset, green offset, blue offset. Gain R stands for red gain, green gain, and blue gain. The offset controls affect the darker portion of the image predominantly, and the gain controls affect the brighter portion of the image. And if you have a colorimeter or a spectroradiometer, you can measure the colors on the screen and make the necessary adjustments to try and neutralize the grayscale to hit the D65 white point that is used within the film and broadcast industry. Frame interpolation, for some reason it is grayed out. Image enhancement, this Epson projector has some sort of pseudo 2K to 4K upscaling going on, and 4K enhancement is basically their technology. Actually, if we actually switch this off, then maybe, yes, then we can actually enable frame interpolation. There are 3 settings available: low, normal, and high, and that just basically affects the intensity of the motion compensated frame interpolation that is deployed on the picture. If we go into image enhancement again, so you can choose whether to actually turn on this pixel shifting technology, which will try and make 2K or high definition image even sharper to mimic 4K. But again, I'll have to do more testing with test patterns and real life content to see what effects it has. Noise reduction is as simple as that. Basically, a temporal filter, presumably impact noise reduction, presumably a spatial filter to reduce mosquito noise or other impact compression artifacts that is introduced through the compression process. Super resolution, again, I think it is definitely edge enhancement, detail enhancement, more edge enhancement. If we go out here, if we go into advanced, right, gamma, so input signal is not directly proportional to the light output on screen, and there's usually a transfer factor or transfer function being applied to determine how much of the input signal is being displayed in terms of the brightness on screen, and gamma is this transfer function. So if you actually go for a higher gamma, so 1 or 2, that's what I would say is a brighter gamma rather than higher gamma. So if you go up the scale, the image will become brighter, and then -2, it will look darker for viewing in a dark environment. And then if you go for customize, what Epson has provided also is a graphical, actually quite graphical, multi-point gamma adjustment, which DIY enthusiasts or professional calibrators can use to fine-tune the gamma even further. And this may be especially useful for HDR if you are trying to extract a watchable HDR image from projectors. Usually what some parties like to do is to design a custom curve to make the image more palatable, because projectors, because of their generally lower light output, they generally don't do HDR justice, because HDR content can go up to 1000 nits or 4000 nits during the mastering process, but projectors, nominally their lumens output or light output is at 48 nits, and so when you're trying to cram all this extra dynamic range into such a limited light output or lumens output, is always going to be a struggle, and a customized gamma curve can allow you to mitigate some of that. If we go back and go down, RGB CMY is basically Epson's color management system, where the company is allowing us to calibrate the 3 primary colors of red, green and blue, and the 3 secondary colors of cyan, magenta and yellow. And under each color, there are 3 further parameters for us to adjust, which are hue, saturation and brightness or luminance. Epson Super Wide. So Epson projectors, and in fact many projectors, they have this function where you can actually enable super wide to actually restore more whiter than white detail, and there's always a debate whether to switch it on or off. And I think that it depends on your screen size, because if you actually switch it on to restore more whiter than white detail or above white detail, yes, you will see more detail, but you will also reduce the dynamic range of the image, because you have to compress. You have to actually try and fit more detail within a fixed dynamic range. So I think it depends on your screen size, your viewing distance, whether there's sufficient light output on your screen, and it has to be done on a case-by-case basis. Lens iris, you can actually manually clamp down the iris to lower the light output and achieve a darker black level, I think, if that's even possible, but I'll have to do more testing. I'll just restore it back to maximum. Think of this like the OLED light on OLED televisions or the backlight on LED LCDs. And power consumption, basically if you want a higher output, then the power consumption would go up. And if you go to high, then hopefully you can hear from my microphone that the fan noise will go up. But if you do not require that bright an image, go for eco, and then it will be much quieter. I'll just go back to medium. Then auto iris. So this Epson TW9300 or 6040 UV projector has a dynamic iris, and you can basically change the algorithm of the dynamic iris, whether you want to switch it off entirely or go for standard speed or a high speed switching. So the difference is that sometimes when you are actually changing from a dark scene to a bright scene and the iris cannot respond fast enough, there will be some light pumping artifacts or brightness fluctuations. So I'll need to do more testing to see the effects of these different settings on the final picture. And then let's go back to signal. 3D, yes, this is a 3D projector, and in fact I was going to test the 3D playback on the Xbox One X, and I discovered that I don't actually have any 3D display except for this projector, which is why I actually broke it out. So this projector supports 3D, and you can select whether to convert 2D to 3D, which I don't think is required anyway, because it's active shutter and there's always flicker and the image will become darker. And aspect ratio, overscan, blanking. If we go into advanced, there are various settings here. So HDMI video range determines whether it is for video use or PC use, and then color space, whether it is for high definition BT709 or ultra high definition BT2020 color standard. Dynamic range, yes, I think when I first received this projector I didn't update the firmware and there wasn't this many HDR mode. Now this projector, unfortunately, one of its downsides is that it doesn't actually auto switch between SDR and HDR content. So upon receipt of HDR signal with HDR metadata, it will still be stuck on its SDR picture mode. So you have to manually go into the projector and switch to a HDR picture mode if you have a separate HDR picture mode. And image processing, you can choose between fine or fast, and the purpose of this control is to lower the input lag. So if you want to improve your gaming responsiveness when playing video games on a big screen, then you want to choose fast, which will cut down on some video processing but reduce the latency. But if you want the best picture possible from your projector, then fine is the way forward, because it will basically unlock all the extra processing that is available for the projector to optimize the image on screen. Settings, keystone, picture-in-picture, extended, wireless, information, reset. Okay, so that concludes our walkthrough of the picture settings that are available on the Epson TW9300 or 6040 UB. I will be spending probably the next 2 or 3 weeks testing and reviewing this projector, because I have some other projects going on in terms of YouTube videos. So it may be some time before I eventually get around to review it and upload a video. But my first impression is that this is actually a very, very good projector. It throws a really punchy, bright image with very, very decent black level on first glance. And that is even before any sort of calibration or in-depth testing. So I really look forward to testing it. If you have any questions about this projector or any of these settings, just feel free to leave a comment in the YouTube section below. I can't guarantee that I will answer, but if there are any good ones, then I will attempt to answer in my video review. If you found this video useful, please click the like button and subscribe to the HDTV Test YouTube channel for more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.